Have you ever felt like a volcano on the verge of erupting? That pressure in your chest, that sensation, that stress is robbing you of your life. It's not just a bad day, it's a stealthy thief, lurking in every corner of your daily routine, ready to steal your peace and years of happiness. But enough is enough. Stoic philosophy reminds us that while we cannot control everything that happens to us, we can decide how to react. So before you let stress turn you into an emotional zombie, take a pause. Breathe deeply and reflect. This is your moment to reclaim the control and serenity you deserve. In today's video, I'll share 10 valuable lessons to remind you that you are the sun, capable of dispelling that shadow. Don't miss the final one, it will leave you speechless. So let's confront that life-stealing thief. But before we begin, pay attention to this story that will help you better understand the wisdom contained in this material. Once upon a time, in a tranquil coastal village, there was a young woman named Maria, known for her dedication to her work as a weaver. Every day, Maria wove beautiful tapestries that her clients cherished for their quality and detail. However, as time passed, the demands of her work began to grow, and Maria felt overwhelmed by mounting expectations and pressing deadlines. One afternoon, after several days without rest, Maria noticed her hands trembling, and her mind was filled with worries. Stress enveloped her like an unrelenting storm. Despite her body and mind begging for rest, she continued weaving, ignoring the signs of fatigue. One day, while walking along the beach in search of fresh air, she came across an elderly woman sitting on the sand, gazing at the sea. With astonishing calm, drawn to the woman's serenity, Maria decided to approach her. The elderly woman looked at her and, without Maria saying a word, said, "The sea is always in motion, but that doesn't make it any less beautiful. Even in its constant agitation, it knows when to pause and calm itself. You, like the sea, must also learn to pause and breathe." Those words resonated in Maria's heart. She realized she had allowed stress to steal her peace and joy for her craft. She decided to make a change. From that day forward, whenever she felt the weight of worries, Maria paused, breathed deeply, and walked along the beach. Over time, she learned to work with serenity, understanding that she must not let stress dictate her life. The tapestry she wove began to reflect her newfound peace, and her clients noticed a special brilliance in her work. The moral of this story is that in life, we face waves of stress that seem to overwhelm us, but if we learn to pause, breathe, and find moments of calm, we not only preserve our health, but also the beauty and joy in everything we do. Before we start with the first lesson, if you find these videos helpful, I encourage you to subscribe and activate notifications to stay updated on the latest content. Let's begin. The silent enemy. Have you ever felt like a balloon about to burst? That tightness in your chest, that tension that prevents you from breathing, as if 1,000 invisible hands are pressing down on you. That stress, it's not just a trendy term, it's the silent enemy, lurking in every corner of your life, ready to steal your peace and, in passing, a couple of years of your life. So why not take a closer look and see what we can do about it? After all, We don't want stress to turn us into apathetic zombies who can barely get out of bed first. Let's talk about the common causes of stress, from workplace pressure to the eternal struggle to balance work and personal life. Modern life feels like a battlefield, and if you add personal problems, complicated relationships, and, of course, self-imposed expectations, it not only affects your mental health, but also has a physical impact you can't ignore. It can manifest as headaches, insomnia, fatigue, and even more serious issues, like hypertension. It's like having a monster that, instead of making noise, sneaks into your life silently, dragging away your energy and happiness, and like any good enemy, it feeds on your fears and worries. But what can you do to stop this life-stealing thief? One option could be to practice Stoic philosophy. The Stoics teach us that life is full of things we cannot control, but our reaction to them is what truly matters. So instead of letting stress overwhelm you, why not take a deep breath and reflect? Imagine stress as dense traffic on the highway. Instead of losing your mind and yelling, you could choose to play good music and enjoy the ride, even if it's a bit slow. A powerful technique is meditation. Don't worry, you don't need to become a Tibetan monk. Simply take a few minutes each day to sit in silence, close your eyes, and breathe with each inhalation. Imagine filling your mind with calm, and with each exhalation, release a bit of the burden you carry. It may sound cliché, but it works. If you don't believe me, try meditating before an important meeting. You'll be surprised by the difference. Another strategy is exercise. I'm not saying you need to become an Olympic athlete, but a brisk walk can work wonders. It releases endorphins, those happiness hormones, and gives your mind a break. At the end of the day, stress is like a thief. If you let it in, it steals your joy. So exercise, meditate, and learn to set boundaries. It's not selfishness, it's survival. Stress is that annoying companion who, if you let it, moves in with you. But don't worry, you have the power to kick it out of your life. Practice Stoic philosophy, meditate, exercise, and above all, remember that you are the master of your time and peace. So, the next time you feel stress stealing your life, take a deep breath and decide not to let it in. Keep this in mind, my friend. Stress is just a shadow, and you are the sun that can dispel it. 2. The warning signs. Have you ever felt like you're on an emotional roller coaster, unsure whether the next turn will be thrilling or terrifying? Stress, that old acquaintance that sneaks into our lives uninvited. The good news is you can learn to spot its signals before it takes over and turns you into an irritable being, like a cat whose tail got wet in this section. We'll break down how to detect those initial symptoms of stress, distinguish them from other emotions, and I'll give you some tools to ensure stress doesn't steal the life you truly want to live. First, how do we know it's stress and not just a bad day? Here are some warning signs. Imagine your body is a car. If you start hearing strange noises, like a squeak in the brakes, it's likely not just a whim of the vehicle. Similarly, when you feel constant pressure in your chest, have trouble concentrating, or find yourself in a state of irritation, that would make a traffic light blush. Your body is speaking to you. Another clear sign that stress is knocking at your door is insomnia. If you wake up at 3 a.m., staring at the ceiling, thinking about all those emails you forgot to answer, stress stress has already taken a seat in your mind. Remember, insomnia and anxiety are like those friends who always bring drama to the party. If you don't invite them, you ensure your night is much more pleasant. Also, don't overlook physical reactions. A persistent headache, tension in your neck, or an upset stomach can be your body's cries for help. But here's the interesting part. We often confuse stress with other emotions, like sadness or frustration. The difference is clear. Stress makes you feel like your mind is running a marathon, while sadness drags you to a couch with a box of tissues. So what can you do to prevent stress from stealing your life? Here are some strategies to keep it at bay. First, conscious breathing. Yes, I know it sounds like a yoga mantra, but breathe deeply through your nose and exhale through your mouth. Do it a few times, and you'll notice your mind starting to calm. It's like giving your brain a breather, which it surely needs after being in survival mode. Next, consider Stoic philosophy. The Stoics believed the key to happiness lies in accepting what you cannot change and focusing on what you can. You can't control traffic or your boss's attitude. Accept it and move on. This way, you avoid wearing yourself out in battles that lead nowhere. Finally, don't underestimate the power of talking to someone. It could be a friend, a family member, or even a therapist. Sometimes, venting can be the best antidote to stress, like a good morning coffee that wakes you up and gives you the boost you need. Identifying and managing stress doesn't have to be a Herculean task. Learn to recognize the warning signs and act before stress takes over your life. As the saying goes, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. So don't let stress steal the best of you. With a bit of practice and the right mindset, you can take the reins of your life and enjoy the ride, even when the roller coaster gets a bit bumpy. As Marcus Aurelius defended in his Meditations, those who don't learn to control stress will end up being controlled by it. The vicious cycle of stress. Have you ever felt that stress is like that clingy friend who doesn't know when to leave? It follows you everywhere, from work to bed, and seems to feed on your worries and anxieties. If you thought you could get rid of it with a couple of deep breaths and an extra coffee, surprise, you're in the middle of a vicious cycle that thrives on negative habits and thoughts. But don't worry, because today we'll talk about how to break that wheel and reclaim your life. Your mind is like a garden. If you let weeds grow, they'll take over every corner, choking the flowers you love. That's stress. It starts with a small negative thought, like, I don't have enough time to finish this. And from there, it becomes a seven-headed monster screaming in your face. You'll never get anything done. Every time you feed that thought, you're watering and fertilizing the weeds, making them bigger and harder to remove. Stress doesn't sit still. It loves to move and expand. You wake up feeling a bit overwhelmed, and before you know it, you're tossing and turning at 3 a.m., replaying every mistake you made in the last 5 years. Who needs enemies when you have your own mind? This is where Stoic philosophy comes in. The Stoics weren't just guys sitting around pondering how to control their emotions. They were experts at putting things in perspective. When you feel stress taking over, remember that you can't control everything around you, but you can control how you react. Changing your focus is key. Instead of thinking, I can't do this, ask yourself, what can I learn from this situation? This small shift in mindset is like using a lawn mower in your mental garden. It clears out those weeds before they become an impenetrable forest. Another technique is practicing gratitude. It sounds a bit cheesy, I know. But writing down 3 things you're grateful for at the end of the day can help shift your focus from the negative to the positive. Just as the sun dispels the shadow, gratitude can dissolve those heavy thoughts that weigh you down also. Don't underestimate the power of a good rest. In our hyper-connected society, it's easy to forget that sleep is a necessity, not a luxury. Lack of sleep fuels stress. So give yourself permission to rest. Make your bed your best friend and your pillow your refuge. It's amazing how a few hours of sleep can change your perspective on the world. Breaking the cycle of stress isn't easy, but it's not impossible either. Remember, every time you find yourself trapped in that negative spiral, you have the power to stop and take a breath. Whether through Stoic philosophy, gratitude, or simply allowing yourself a moment of peace, you are the gardener of your mind. So what will you plant today? As Mario Alonso Puig says, stress is just a disguised thief that takes the best of you, but you hold the key to the door. The trap of time. Have you ever felt like time is slipping through your hands as if you have a sack of sand instead of a clock? Well, welcome to the club. We live in an era where stress from a lack of time is not only common, but almost a badge of honor. But surprise, this approach is not only exhausting, but can also make your productivity plummet faster than a cat falling from a tree. Stoic philosophy teaches us to be masters of our time, and perhaps we should pay a bit more attention to its teachings. Your day is like a train journey. You have a destination, a series of stops, and, of course, a schedule to keep. But instead of enjoying the scenery, you spend the trip stressed, checking your watch every 2 minutes and wondering if you'll arrive on time. That's modern life, friends. We're so focused on reaching goals that we forget to enjoy the journey. Stress not only affects your well-being, but like a cunning thief, also steals your ability to be productive. So how do you handle this trap of time? The answer isn't as complicated as it seems. First, prioritize and simplify your tasks. If your to-do list looks more like a roll of toilet paper than a sheet of notes, it's time to declutter. Ask yourself what tasks are truly essential and which are just background noise. Sometimes less is more, and dedicating time to what really matters will make you more efficient. Setting boundaries is another fundamental key. Imagine your time is a cake. If you're always giving out huge slices to others, you'll have nothing left for yourself. Learn to say no without feeling guilty. The time you save by declining unnecessary commitments is time you can dedicate to your own goals. Remember, you're not a favor dispensing machine, and that's okay. Mindfulness also plays a crucial role. Instead of worrying about what's next, try to be present in the moment. Stoic philosophy teaches us to focus on what we can control. Dedicate a few minutes each day to breathe and center yourself. This not only calms your mind, but also improves your ability to focus on what truly matters. Moreover, don't underestimate the importance of truly resting. If you work non-stop, you'll likely feel like a car that's run out of gas. Take a break. Do something you genuinely enjoy. It can be as simple as reading a good book or taking a walk. Recharging your batteries will allow you to return to your tasks with a fresh perspective. and more energy. Finally, reevaluating your concept of success can free you from stress. Success doesn't have to be an endless marathon of tasks. Perhaps it's simply enjoying the day without the pressure of time crushing you. Changing your mindset about what it means to be productive can liberate you from stress and allow you to find a more authentic way to work and live. So the next time you feel time slipping away and stress chasing you like a rabid dog, remember, you have the power to change the situation. Don't let stress steal your life. Learn to manage your time with wisdom, and above all, enjoy the journey. As Epictetus said, time is a gift, not a burden. Learn to wrap it in gratitude, not stress. Strategies for inner peace. Have you ever felt like a juggler in a circus trying to keep multiple balls in the air while a band of crazy clowns plays at full volume? That's modern life. Stress has become the unwanted travel companion that never leaves, but there are ways to put a stop to it. Today, we'll explore some strategies to reclaim your inner peace and prevent stress from stealing your life. Because let's be honest, we already have enough problems without adding one more. Stress is a thief in the night, sneaking through your window and taking the most valuable thing you have, your tranquility. When you feel overwhelmed, your mind starts to work like a 1980s TV, fuzzy, distorted, and of course, never with a good signal. This is where some practical techniques come in to keep that thief at bay. First, let's talk about meditation. No, you don't need to go to a monastery in the mountains or dress like a monk. Meditation can be as simple as sitting in a comfortable place and closing your eyes for a few minutes. Focus your mind on your breathing. Inhale deeply and exhale all that anxiety-laden air. It's like giving your brain a breather, allowing it to reconfigure and return to normal. And if you're worried about not knowing what to think about, don't stress. Just observe your thoughts passing by, like clouds in a blue sky. Remember, even the Stoics would tell us that we can't control what we think, but we can choose how we react to those thoughts. Another technique is conscious breathing. Did you know your breathing is like a remote control that can change the channel of your mood? When you're stressed, your breathing tends to become shallow and rapid. But if you pause and breathe deeply, you can trick your body into relaxing. Try inhaling through your nose for 4 seconds, holding the air for 4 more, and exhaling slowly through your mouth for 6 seconds. Do this a few times and you'll see your body feel less like a battlefield and more like a place of peace. Now, we can't talk about inner peace without mentioning mindfulness. This concept is simple. It's about being present in the here and now without distractions. For example, when you sit down to drink a cup of coffee, do it mindfully. Observe the color of the liquid, feel the warmth of the cup in your hands, and savor each sip as if it were your first. It's a form of meditation in motion, and by doing it, you anchor yourself in the present, far from the worries that can steal your life. Don't let stress steal your life. Through meditation, conscious breathing, and mindfulness, you can reclaim control and stage a coup against that peace-stealing thief. Remember, life is a journey, and you are the driver. Don't let stress take the wheel. The next time you feel chaos taking over, remember you can always pause, breathe, and refocus. After all, as Marian Roya says, calm is the art of letting the world spin without falling off the tightrope. So take the reins and choose peace. The art of letting go. Have you noticed that sometimes you try so hard to control your life that you end up feeling like a circus juggler struggling to keep all the balls in the air? The truth is, in our relentless quest to control every aspect of our lives, we forget a small detail. Stress is not a pleasant companion. On the contrary, it's that friend who shows up to the party uninvited and stays until you, exhausted, decide to go to bed. The first step to freeing yourself from stress is recognizing that not everything is under your control. Yes, I know. This statement might seem a bit terrifying, like skydiving without knowing if the parachute will open. But here's the trick. Sometimes holding on to what we cannot change is like trying to grasp sand between your fingers. The tighter you squeeze, the more it slips away. Accepting that there are things you simply cannot control is the first step toward freedom. And who doesn't want a bit more freedom in their life? When you're in the middle of a storm, you have two options: fight against the wind and waves, or find a safe place and wait for it to pass. Stoic philosophy teaches us that instead of clinging to the helm of a sinking ship, we should learn to swim and let the current carry us to a safer place. This doesn't mean giving up, but rather making peace with the reality that there are things you cannot change. But how can you start? Letting go of control. A good practice is to create a control inventory. Make a list of the things you can truly control and another of those you cannot. Sometimes, seeing things on paper can be revealing. For example, you can control your reactions, your attitude, and your decisions. However, you cannot control traffic, the weather, or what people say about you. When you accept this, it's like lifting a weight off your shoulders. You stop carrying a backpack full of stones and start walking lighter. Moreover, practicing gratitude can be an excellent way to reduce stress. Instead of focusing on what you don't have or cannot control, look around and appreciate what's already present in your life. Do it daily. It's like adjusting the lens of a camera. When you change the focus, you can see beauty in what once seemed blurry. Another strategy is meditation. Yes, I know. To some, it sounds like a hippie fairy tale. But the truth is, taking a few minutes each day to simply breathe and be present can work wonders. You don't need to become a Zen master. With just 5 minutes a day, you can start feeling more in control and less like a runaway pendulum. The art of letting go is a skill that is cultivated, not an instant achievement. Over time, you'll realize you can live more lightly, enjoying the moment without the burden of stress. So, the next time you feel stress stealing your life, remember, sometimes letting go is the best way to stay on course. Burn this into your mind, my friend. Letting go is not losing, but gaining the freedom to be yourself. The connection between body and mind. Have you ever wondered why, despite having everything under control, or at least thinking you do, there's always a cloud of stress looming over you? Stress, that old acquaintance who sits at the table for every meal, takes over the remote, and as if that weren't enough, decides the perfect time to ruin your sleep. But don't worry. Today, we'll talk about how caring for your body can be the key to calming your mind. So, get comfortable and let's unravel this connection. The relationship between physical and mental well-being is closer than you might imagine. Picture your body as a well-oiled machine. If one part fails, the entire system is affected. In this case, if you don't care for your body, your mind certainly won't stay on the sidelines. Stress, that spark that can ignite chaos in your life, feeds on a lack of exercise, an unhealthy diet, and insomnia. So, to combat it, here are some recommendations that could save you from becoming an anxiety hermit. First, let's talk about exercise. Yes, that concept that seems like a horror movie to many, the idea of moving and sweating, can sound daunting, but think of exercise as an act of rebellion against stress. You don't have to be a professional athlete. Starting with short walks can work wonders. As an old friend used to say, a 5-minute swim can be the first step toward an empire. Remember, it's not about running marathons, but taking small steps that gradually help clear your mind. Now, let's move to diet, food, that mix of pleasure and guilt. If you choose to live on fast food and sugar, don't be surprised if your mind starts spinning like a hamster on a wheel. Feeding your body with fruits, vegetables, and lean proteins can be an effective way to keep stress at bay. So, the next time you're tempted by a bag of chips, ask yourself, do I want a couple of hours of happiness or a stress-free future? Okay, maybe it's not that simple, but you get the idea. Finally, rest, most of us. Act as if sleep were a luxury rather than a necessity. Sleeping isn't just closing your eyes, it's how your body and mind reboot. Dedicate time to establishing a sleep routine. Your mind needs that space to process and recover from the day's challenges. Think of your mind as software. If you don't update and restart, you'll end up with a slow, error-ridden program. So here's the magic formula. Move your body, nourish your mind, and rest as if there's no tomorrow. Remember, Stoic philosophy also speaks of the importance of self-discipline and self-care. So don't feel guilty about dedicating time to yourself. Take a breath, a rest, and watch as stress starts to lose its power. Don't let stress steal your life. Caring for your body isn't just about looking good, but feeling good inside. Establish a balance between exercise, healthy eating, and proper rest. As the saying goes, life is too short to live with a mind clouded by stress. So why not start today if you haven't grasped it yet, my friend? Let me put it more simply. Caring for your body is the best investment you can make to stay calm in the storm. Define your priorities and purpose. Have you ever stopped to think about what truly matters in your life? Because let's be honest, if you follow the pace of modern life, it feels like we're all caught in a mad race to meet expectations we don't even know where they come from. It's like chasing a ghost that never stops. So, why not take a breath? In this journey, we'll explore how to set priorities and find that sense of purpose. That, like a lighthouse in the fog, can guide you to a safe harbor, far from the stress that often steals your life. First, let's talk about priorities. We often fill ourselves with tasks, commitments, and shoulds that keep us busy. But are we really accomplishing anything? It's like having a closet full of clothes and still complaining you have nothing to wear. The key here is to declutter. Ask yourself, what really matters? It could be family, friends, or even that forgotten passion that once made you feel alive. Stoic philosophy teaches us to focus on what we can control and let go of what we cannot. So, make a list of your priorities and start shedding what doesn't align with your purpose. A simple technique you can use is the Stoics' three-question method. First, ask yourself, does this contribute to my well-being? Second, does this bring me closer to my goals? And finally, will this make me proud of myself? If the answer is no to more than one of these questions, it might be time to eliminate that element from your life. Now, let's talk about purpose. What makes you get up each morning, eager to take on the world? Often, purpose isn't a final destination, but a series of small actions that align with your values. Imagine you're assembling a puzzle. Each piece is a daily action that contributes to the bigger picture of who you want to be. Sometimes we forget that small acts, like helping a neighbor or dedicating time to a hobby, can bring profound meaning to our lives. If you feel stress is stealing your sense of purpose, try implementing a gratitude practice. Each day, write down 3 things you're grateful for. This not only helps focus your mind on the positive, but also reminds you of what truly matters. It's a simple way to redirect your thoughts toward what enriches your life. Taking control of your priorities and rediscovering your purpose can be a transformative journey. Don't let stress steal the life you deserve. Remember, each day is a new opportunity to make adjustments and prioritize what truly matters. If the Stoics taught us anything, it's that tranquility is found in acceptance and the direction we choose to take. So go ahead, dust off that list of priorities and start living with purpose. As Brian Tracy says, life is like a book. If you don't set your priorities, others will write your story. Healthy relationships have. You ever stopped to consider the impact your relationships have on your stress levels? Quite a question. But let's be honest, how many times have you let someone else's drama keep you up at night? Or worse, ruin your day? Life is full of interactions that can be as refreshing as a sea breeze or as heavy as a pressure cooker about to explode. So if you want to stop letting stress steal your life, here are some reflections on how to cultivate healthy relationships with a dash of empathy and a touch of boundaries. Interpersonal relationships are a double-edged sword. On one hand, they can be your refuge, that warm cup of coffee on a cold day. On the other, they can become an endless source of stress, like that coworker who decides to tell you about their cat at 8 a.m. When you don't manage these connections properly, stress can pile up like a snowball rolling downhill. But don't worry, not all is lost. This is where empathy and boundaries come into play. Empathy, that ability to put yourself in someone else's shoes, is like the glue that holds healthy relationships together. It helps you understand others' needs and emotions. However, don't confuse empathy with the obligation to solve everyone's problems. This is where boundaries come in. Setting clear boundaries is like building a fence around your personal garden. It protects what you've cultivated with so much effort and ensures no random stranger comes in to make a mess. Now, let's talk about strategies for managing stress in your relationships. First, start by practicing active listening. This doesn't mean you have to agree with everything the other person says. Rather, it's about letting others feel their voice matters. Sometimes, simply listening can be more effective than offering a quick fix. Then, pause and evaluate your surroundings. Are you surrounding yourself with people who add value or drain you? If your friends are more like a grey cloud than a ray of sunshine. It might be time to find a new group. Remember, your time and energy are valuable resources. Don't waste them on toxic relationships that only bring stress to your life. Finally, don't forget to take care of yourself. Stoic philosophy teaches us to focus on what we can control. So why not do a quick inventory of your own emotions and needs? Practice self-care, set aside moments for yourself, and say no when necessary. Life is too short to say yes to everything offered to you. Cultivating healthy relationships isn't just a whim, it's a necessity. If you want to keep stress at bay, empathy and boundaries are your best allies on this journey. Remember, you're not here to carry the weight of others. Learn to balance your interactions and let relationships nourish you instead of draining you. Relationships are like plants. They need attention, but also space to grow. So, as you navigate this sea of interactions, keep in sight what truly matters. And if you ever feel stress is about to steal your life, remember this: those who don't know how to set boundaries are destined to become a battlefield. Living with serenity, have you ever wondered why, despite all your good intentions, stress seems to be the most loyal companion in your life? It's like that friend who shows up to the party uninvited and stays until dawn. Modern life, with its frenetic pace and unattainable expectations, often leaves us feeling like a cat trapped in a tree, nervous, agitated, and clueless about how to get down. But what if I told you that you can live with serenity and free yourself from that burden? Stoic philosophy, which at its core is a kind of instruction manual for dealing with life, offers a refreshing perspective. It's not about living like a monk on an isolated mountain, but about finding calm amidst the chaos. Imagine your mind is like an ocean. On its surface, there may be storms, but in the depths, there is always peace. So how can you navigate those turbulent waters without sinking into stress? First, it's crucial to recognize that stress is largely a matter of perspective. Think about that time you had to deliver a work project. As the deadline approached, you started feeling like the world was collapsing. But what would happen if, instead of focusing on the fear of failure, you chose to see that deadline as an opportunity to show your worth? This is where the practice of cognitive reframing comes in, which basically means you can change the way you think about things. By doing this, you turn stress into a challenge, not an enemy. Another effective strategy is the technique of conscious breathing. When you feel overwhelmed, stop for a moment and breathe. Yes, it seems simple, but that's where the magic lies. Inhale deeply, counting to 4. Hold the air for 4, and then exhale, counting to 4. Repeat this a few times, and you'll notice your mind clearing. It's like rebooting your computer. When it gets slow, sometimes, all you need is a quick reset to keep going. Moreover, don't underestimate the power of gratitude. Each day, take a moment to reflect on what you have and what you've achieved. Make a mental list of 3 things you're grateful for. By focusing on the positive, you minimize the influence of stress. I assure you, it's not as complicated as it seems. It's like choosing to see the glass half full instead of half empty, even when life hands you an empty one. Now, let's be realistic. There's no magic solution to eliminate stress overnight. Living with serenity is a process that requires patience and practice. You can start implementing these strategies into your daily routine. But the key is consistency. For example, dedicate a few minutes each day to meditation or practicing mindfulness. This not only helps you stay balanced, but also allows you to make clearer, less impulsive decisions. Living a balanced and fulfilling life is possible as long as you're willing to make some adjustments to your perspective and habits. Don't let stress steal your life. Instead, turn it into a tool that propels you towards serenity. At the end of the day, it's about finding that space in your mind where the storm becomes calm, where chaos turns into clarity. As Seneca said, stress is just the shadow of a misdirected thought. So, the next time you feel stress taking over, remember you have the power to change the narrative. Serenity is just a breath away. If you've made it this far, write in the comments. Don't let stress steal your life. I'm excited to hear about your successful experiences. I invite you to subscribe, activate notifications, and comment, so YouTube recognizes that these videos are helpful for people like you. This motivates us to keep creating similar content in the future. I suggest checking out the 2 latest videos we've recommended. I sincerely appreciate your time and support. See you in our next adventure.